Oh, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 552 of FloWrestling Radio Live. I'm your host, Christian Piles, and as always, by the duo of Steve and Kyle Brackey, and the enemy of crutches, Ben Funky Askren. We saw the video, Ben. I know what you've been up to.
I got excited. It was fun.
Listen.
We had a great weekend.
So, if you don't know, let's just get right to that. It's not really the biggest story in wrestling. I hope your ears don't blow out. They blew out my ears on Instagram. But watch Coach Askren's.
It was loud?
Yeah, it was just loud.
Well, let me set this up.
Set it up, you maniac.
Yeah, so this is the quarterfinals of AWA Duels. We're in a battle with Izzy. It was a really fun match. It was back and forth, and obviously, as you can see, this match is 5-4. There's one match left after this, so we started the duel at 126, and the score is 25-26. So obviously, this match is important. And then the last match coming up is he had a state champ, and then we had a state runner-up. So I knew the last match would be really competitive also.
Yes, okay, so here we go in the quarters of the Askren Duel. Boom.
Did you zoom in on me? Throw my crutches?
Yes. He Gronk spiked his crutch. The rubber thing fell off the armpit part.
I actually broke it. I had to tape it up. Izzy fined me $200 for that.
He did?
Yeah.
Wow. You got fined at your own tournament.
He paid me $200 less for the entry fee because I spiked my crutches.
No, did he really?
I swear.
Because of that? Was he serious?
Yeah.
Wow. Do you guys got beef now?
No, I love Izzy. He's great. He's fantastic.
Man.
No, okay. You know what? It was an awesome weekend, so we didn't allow any parents in the room. Few of my parents snuck in. I didn't really love it, you know. Wow. And it was really weird. It changed the energy of the building, you know. It was just like a lot of really fun high-level wrestling. Not any drama at all. Just wrestlers and coaches and a few referees, and that's about it.
Well, that's awesome. We're glad. I don't know what this is. Tyler's pulling up things. These are pictures of the event.
You know what? So that was one room. So in this academy, we have two rooms. There's two mats in this one room. There's one in the other one, and then there's the other venue. It's got three mats. So Southern Illinois ended up winning. They kind of put together a team from all over Illinois. They had some really good kids. Donahoe brought a stacked team. That was awesome. Jeff Jordan's team was really good out of Ohio. Micah Jordan and Travis McIntosh came. Wow. So, man, it was really fun.
Micah Jordan must have done really well at this tournament. He was really good.
He was coaching you.
Oh. Yeah, and Southern Illinois is a college team, so I would have expected them to win too. So this all makes a lot more sense.
Oh my goodness.
Oh man. But you know, more concerning than anything is I've got birds everywhere, you know.
Yeah.
I hear you were basically not using your crutches at this event, just walking around for the most part, not using it. Someone told me that. Is this true?
Don't tell my doctor.
See, it is true. Daggone it, Ben. What are you doing?
I'm feeling pretty good. Don't tell my doctor.
It was only we're live streaming.
Distance. I did have to sit down. I walked a little too much the first day. And you know what? Actually, it's not my leg that I got surgery on that got sore. It was my other leg because I was compensating. So I had to make sure I had to make myself sit down a whole bunch of second day. I can't move around. I got to sit there in one spot.
Why do you have to play this game of chicken with the oncoming train? You just don't do it. Just be on the crutches.
No, the one time, the Jeff Jordan Southern Illinois semifinal was nuts. It was really back and forth, and I think Southern Illinois ended up winning by 2 points. And I was sitting there watching it. I had to have Max Callahan from Team Dono. He was protecting me in case the guys came at me, because I wouldn't have been able to take an impact. Yeah. See, these are what I'm concerned about. I wish you would use your crutches more. I wish you would not destroy your crutches in an attempt to not have to use them. Kyle's got something.
Yeah, I like Twitter user Jim Buskins. Am concerned about the example you're setting. He replied to the tweet that said, "What happened to the Zen master who criticized poor behavior of parents? What would have happened if this was an actual son/daughter? Moral, never criticize/judge others' behavior, as you will be the next one looking stupid."
I don't understand. I got excited for an athlete having success. There's probably nothing wrong with that.
I don't know,
I wasn't
man.
throwing my crutches. He must have thought I was throwing my crutches in anger.
Yeah.
But that wasn't it. It was just joy. And I see nothing wrong with the emotion of joy when an athlete has success. So,
I agree, and I think he probably thought
Yes.
you lost.
he probably thought I was mad and my guy was the one that got pinned, but that definitely wasn't what happened.
Yes, I don't think you would spike your crutches if you lost.
I have not done anything like that in a very long time.
Oh, so you have?
I mean, probably when I was a high school kid. Yeah.
Oh,
I'm sure.
high school kid. Okay, I thought you.
Yeah, you know what? When
Oh,
you're
yeah.
competing and you lose, you get mad. Yeah, of course.
Yes, classic.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so a lot of this is a pretty busy weekend in wrestling. Last couple of days since we last had the show on Friday. We'll talk more about the 8-man because we have our first 4 announced. We can talk about that.
Nice.
But I think first things first, the actual wrestling that happened, the Nittany Lion Wrestling Club event, and the particularly the headliner, Bo Nickal versus Alex Daringer, which brought out the criteria haters in full force when Ringer lost 1-1. But
I hated it too, Christian.
well, no, you didn't hate criteria. You hated the painful wrestling match with basically no points. Criteria.
Well,
Here's
okay.
the problem with criteria
Yeah.
and the criteria haters. They use the exceptions. I mean, it is so incredibly rare that there's a 1-1 match in freestyle. It is
Yes.
incredible. You can go back and look at all the criteria matches. It's very rare you will find a 1-1 match, okay, first of all. So you cannot use the exceptions of the rule as a reason to complain about the rule and the things that you have issue with. We could probably pull up and show tons of matches you probably didn't even realize were criteria victories because they were so exciting and it was 6-6 or 4-4 or whatever it was. You didn't even realize it. Maybe. So I've found it to be a little bit like, okay, well, it's easy to knock criteria right now when you just watched a really boring match, right?
Well, I think could there be some way that they did it in this specific instance? Like, if no one scored a real point, then we got to do something about this because the whole notion.
Put the match out of its misery, I say.
That bad, huh?
Well,
I mean, but just Christian, the whole notion, because we always know, and this is something I find to be incredibly stupid, but it pretty much happens every single time. If one guy gets called for and put on the shot clock, the other guy is going next. Regardless of who's actually stalling, they're going to go one guy and then go the other guy. And that to me, that is so annoying.
well, that's not what happened
because-
here.
What do you mean?
Well, Ringer scored a real point. He got a step out.
Oh, damn it. Yeah, you're right. Okay, so give him the match. We're getting a real point.
He did get the real point. And then they put Alex on the shot clock in the second.
In second period, yeah.
Which, maybe that's your gripe is the seemingly arbitrary selection of who goes on the clock, right? I don't.
Yeah, I mean, because you could argue that Deirdre was a little more aggressive.
You could argue that. I think I would have, in assessing that match, I think they were both equally active, which is to say, not particularly. And it's one of those, I think it's one of those matches where they don't match up great against each other. I'm not saying it's Suriano-Dayton level, like they will never have an exciting match. But,
Yeah.
first, I thought Bo would win, not significantly, but I thought he would win comfortably. I thought he would win by 2 to 3 points or so. And the ties were a problem for Bo. I feel like he had a hard time, and he fired off a few attacks, but he really did not get that close to a finish at any point. Daringer similarly didn't get but a few really solid attempts off. I think he got a little closer. He had like
He
a
actually
double.
got really deep at the end there, and
Yeah,
you thought maybe he was going to go through him.
And what I think Bo is at his best when guys are coming at him consistently. And I know Bo won the match, but I mean, even Bo, I think he said, what wasn't his best performance or whatever. I think when guys are coming to him, he does a lot better. And I think Ringer demonstrated a good tactical approach for Bo Nickal. He just wasn't able to get that final point that would have determined the outcome. But I think the other thing with criteria is like, let's not forget we had different ways. UWW used to have different ways to determine tiebreakers. One, they had referees' decisions at different
That was
points.
terrible.
That's we really want to do that? You want the referees deciding?
No.
Okay, so we're out on that. We had the ball draw, okay? And then we had basically everyone thinks that, oh, cut off the clock and let people score and determine it. And I think that sounds great, and I've probably had points as a fan where I thought that makes sense. But that is just not to me, a reasonable way to say, to run a sport and to have where you just say, yep, we'll cut the clock off for any match ever.
Yeah.
In order to determine what, it just doesn't seem reasonable to me. And I love the idea that someone is always losing, and I hate when there's ties. You see it in all sports, and you see it in wrestling, you see it in folk style. When there's a tied match, guys will just assume the last 30 seconds, 45 seconds. They become much more risk averse when they're tied. Mm-hmm. Everyone's just much more risk averse. When someone is always losing, there's always someone incentivized to take risk.
Yeah. And the whole thought process of being risk averse in that specific situation, in folk style, at certain times it makes sense. Like if I know Christian sucks on bottom, and we're in overtime,
how'd you know?
I'm gonna stand there because I'm gonna ride you out, and then I'm gonna get my escape, and I'm gonna win by a point. But in a freestyle match, you're saying now we have to go many years back when this was actually happening, when you actually go to overtime. It doesn't really make sense because the idea that, okay, if I get scored on, I won't have very much time to, score back doesn't really make sense because in overtime, it is in fact sudden victory. And then if you get scored on, it's just over, right? So you go from having a small chance to essentially no chance. I definitely think you have a point, Christian. You got the Dayton Soriano. That happened. But the other one I would go back to would be, I believe it was 2004 Olympic trials, Dennis Hall, Brandon Paulson. And yeah. I don't remember what it was tied at, but it was someone had to score a point or something like that. Right?
Yes.
That happened?
Yeah.
And it went, 17 minutes or something? And there was something just totally awesome about that. The determination and the will it takes to battle someone for 17 minutes at that level. But yes, I realize that you can't just say if we're at Fargo, you can't just have that going on a regular basis because it's just totally unrealistic.
Yeah, I think it is unrealistic. And if you want to gripe about the seemingly arbitrary nature of shot clock points, and in a match like this, I can get with that. I can see why you would understand it. I don't like the alternating shot clock order thing like Ben was referring to earlier. I don't like that the guy that scored the only real point of the match got put on the clock, especially in a 1-1 match. But these are just such rare matches. You don't see a lot of matches like this.
To go to the point of how rare it is, John Kozak put in the chat, he searched through his 35 to 40,000 matches he has in his database, and only 34 ended 1-1. So it happens about 1 in 1,000.
1 in 1,000. Okay, and this is not
that's crazy.
This is not the thing to march on. This is not the example to me. This is just an absolute exception. Perfect storm kind of match. Two guys that are so good. They match up in a way that for whatever reason doesn't create points. We had a somewhat arbitrary shot clock point, and then everyone's unhappy.
A few people have brought this up in the chat, and I like it. What if the step out held criteria over the shot clock?
I think that should be, for sure.
I agree. That would be awesome.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of no-brainer.
Real point should beat fake point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, yeah, I mean, Tristan Ray actually called this for me. He was coaching, obviously, with us this weekend. And he said, Dieringer always does a great job at shutting down, funky, scrambly guys. He cited the Ness examples, how many times he beat Dylan Ness. And, I don't know why. I actually lean Nickal. I don't know if we talked about our picks last week, but that's who I was going to go with. And I love Alex Dieringer. I just thought the size discrepancy. But then when I saw them next to each other, yeah, they look the same size. They look really similar. I mean, Dieringer's been down at 79. Nickal's been up at 92. But when you put them both at 86, they look kind of the same size.
Yeah, Nickal competed at 97 at that event where Mohammedian destroyed him and Snyder. Remember that? That was insane.
Yeah.
That guy freaks me out. I'm a little worried about him.
Yeah.
He seems like a tough
seriously.
customer.
Maybe he'll be off his cycle by the Olympics, though.
Yes, we'll see. He comes off of a suspension and just ragdolls an entire field, including an Olympic champion. That was alarming. So yeah, I thought Nickal and Ringer looked to be about the same size. It's crazy. This guy wrestled at 197, and this guy was at 165 at the end of their college careers, and they ended up wrestling at the same weight. They look about the same size, and then Bo put out there that he's officially going 86. We have that post. I think we're going to pull it up here. My match did not go as I liked. Man, I can't read it. I'm sorry. I can read, guys. I am literate. But it felt good to compete. After 7 months, and I learned a lot. 86 kilogram Olympic gold medalist. Here I come.
Do you not have it on your computer, Christian?
I don't have it on my computer. It's up on the screen, and it's just like a little blurry. Maybe
it is really small. It is really small writing.
Okay. So anyways,
wow.
Go ahead.
What do you think? What do you think about? I mean, because we saw what David did to Miles. We've seen Miles versus Derringer. We saw Derringer versus Nickal. I know there's a lot of there's a lot of transitive properties there.
Mm-hmm.
But then at the same time, Nickal and Taylor have been in the same wrestling room. So if he's going to come out and say gold medalist, he has to at the very least, have some inkling that he thinks he could beat David Taylor.
Or he could say,
or what?
Well, I'm sure he has an inkling. I'm sure he does have an inkling, one. But two, it's like, well, I lost. It could also indicate how he does against Snyder. And he also wrestles. It just could be a risk assessment, right? Like, all right, well, do I want to go into Snyder and Jaden's weight? And he wrestles Snyder, I'm sure. So he probably knows how that goes. And he wrestles David. And he's probably like, okay, this is maybe the lesser of two evils, right? That's how I would interpret it.
I don't know if you're gonna.
And also Ben, the dude,
you're gonna put
the dude weighed. What did he weigh? Like 88 kilograms for a 92 kilogram world team spot. He's
87, I think. Yeah.
87. He weighed in.
I know he's an 86.
Okay, so the size is 86. You have a two-time world champion, Olympic champion at 97, and you're small. Why would?
Yes.
It's a very obvious.
Christian,
choice.
I'm not arguing that it's not the right way for him to go. I would say yes, it is 100%, and I argue they should have went there 2019. Here's what I am saying: if let's see, man, I haven't had this happen to me, but at least not in a long time. If I was in the room and some dude was just killing me, right? Do you realize how disingenuous it would be to put out there that I'm going to win the gold medal at this weight class, knowing that guy just beats my ass every day? Like, I'm probably not going to put that out there. So that's what I'm saying. Like, there has to be at least a little bit of him. And I'm not saying that he gets better at David. Here's what I'm saying. There's got to be a little bit of him that says, I can beat that guy.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me at all. And what it's kind of interesting you bring it up, but when did I say Bo is at his best? When guys are coming to him.
When someone's attacking him, yeah.
Who's going to attack more than David Taylor? That guy attacks more than anyone in the world, probably at any weight, right? So maybe so, but it's tough to get with it right after a 1-1 win over Derringer, who we kind of understand where Derringer probably is in the pecking order. But the other side of the coin is styles make fights, and I don't think he would put that out there if he didn't have some degree of belief in himself that he could do it. Now, the other thing I know is those guys train together all the time. And it's interesting because I remember thinking about, like, the Ohio RTC back in the day. Their 60-kilogram room was insane. They had Logan, Bunch, and Humphrey all at the same weight class, right? And it's like, you guys are training together, and then you're going to – so how do you navigate that? Some places can navigate it better than others. It has to be a disadvantage for someone to train with them all the time, right?
Oh man, so I always kind of say, like, it It's obviously a zero-sum game, Christian, right? Either one person gains, the other person gains, or there's no gain whatsoever. So how do you determine which person gains from the experience? And to me, the answer to that question is really, really difficult.
I would tend to think, here's what I think. I think the way it rears itself is it benefits the underdog, in my opinion.
Why do you think that? Because he could try to slow things down.
I think that's what you've seen. Think about do you remember the James Green Chamberlain thing? Jason Chamberlain is not in James Green's level, in my opinion. Right?
Yeah,
I think James Green's a multiple world medalist, but
they
basically couldn't take each other down for 12 minutes just because.
Yeah,
they trained.
Did they train together?
Yeah.
When?
He was at Nebraska a long time. Chamberlain.
Really?
Yeah, Green even tweeted it. Hey, after the match, after the series, he's like, "Sorry guys, I know that wasn't fun to watch. This is what happens when you train together for years."
Yeah.
So I think that's just something. That's my opinion. It could be wrong. It can also manifest itself the other way, but I think in general, you see the underdog is able to learn a couple areas to sort of mitigate. Now, getting over the hump is another thing, but I think they can, in general, will make it closer. That's my opinion.
Yeah, because I mean, you're right about mitigating and feeling them out in the best position. I know, like for Max, because I killed him so many times, was really, really hard to cradle, whereas other people weren't nearly as difficult. And so, obviously, I definitely see what you're saying. But then I guess I feel both ways like that. But the guy who's the better guy will have that big brother effect on the other guy. So while it may be closer, they're going to have a hard time getting over the hump.
Yes. I mean, David Taylor is, in my opinion, a pretty clear favorite. I think Bo and Zahid are the two guys with the best shot to challenge David, because I think they're just ridiculously good, and they have that unbelievable athleticism. But then again, none of them, if you look at there's kind of one guy, Kyle Dake, who's had good success against David Taylor, and I just don't know if any of those guys can, and I don't think you have to replicate what Dake does to beat David Taylor, but I think there's one guy in the world that's given somewhat of a template, and I don't think anyone else can replicate that, and I don't think Zahid and Bo are the guys.
I agree. Kyle Dake is, I don't want to say unreplicatable, but he does some very unique things, and he has a certain ability that, it's very tough to replicate. Are we going to see any of these guys on the October 8th through the 10th event? Because it was also announced, to tie into that, it was also announced last weekend, I believe this was after our Thursday show, or we did a Friday show also, that they would in fact be doing the junior and the senior world championships. When was that announced?
They haven't officially announced about senior worlds.
I thought they did last week.
No, Ivan,
that guy,
the Rush. Yeah, he's not. He's just a wrestling fan who is very connected, but they have not announced that they're having senior worlds.
Okay, so I thought he was like in the know, like we got an insider or something.
He is in the know, and he's probably right, but it hasn't been announced.
It's not been announced. Okay, got it.
Yeah. So
which then also makes me wonder, when the hell are they going to announce the junior trials for the United States if the junior worlds are going to happen?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm in the same boat as you. I don't know what their plan is for worlds for juniors. I thought we were having the juniors U23s in like mid-October, the trials for America, and obviously that hasn't come out. That's not known at this point, so we'll see. I don't know who we'll see. There's not much incentive for those guys to enter the senior nationals, though.
I'm looking on Ivan's profile. He says actually that the Russian senior nationals is going to happen in 3 weeks, October 15th through the 18th.
Yeah, that's great. I want to watch that.
Okay. Well, so we don't know if Bo or Dieringer or Zahid's entering the U.S. Open October 8th to 10th.
I seriously doubt it.
I would doubt that either of them are in it.
Okay.
Definitely not. I don't think we'd see David at all, but I just don't see what the benefit is for them other than wrestling matches.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's kind of sad that that's like basically the mentality or like what everyone knows. But unless there's something in it for these guys that, unless they really feel like they need the matches, you're just not going to see guys wrestle.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like they do need the matches, right? You have to do something to stay sharp a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, Bo sort of alluded to it with saying, "Hey, first match in 7 months," right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So maybe some guys throw their hat in the ring, but the registration is still extremely sparse. I don't know if there's a ranked guy entered in men's freestyle.
Really?
It's not good right now.
Yeah, no one's entering.
I thought we were gonna have a whole bunch of entering from all these college kids who hadn't wrestled. Are the colleges not letting them? You think?
I don't know. They have not registered.
Well, remember we talked about that rule last week. That could be hindering some of these colleges entering, and some probably don't want their kids going away and then coming back to campus.
So I don't know.
Yeah, that's true.
Also, UWW put a press release out on Saturday talking about the addition of the Poland Open to a ranking series. And then at the end, they said the executive committee will meet on October 5th to discuss plans for the 2020 Junior and Senior World Championships scheduled for mid-December in Belgrade, Serbia. A questionnaire will be sent midweek next week to all national federations, gauging their interest in the tournament as well as any concerns they might have.
I don't think USA wants to go to this. I don't think we'll be involved. So I think that would, and they have to have a certain number, like 7 of the top 10 or 8 of the top 10. 8 of the top 10 teams. There's one right there. I don't think USA would go. Maybe they will, but every conversation I've had is they're not doing it.
Man, are you guys? I'm scrolling through Ivan's profile. He's got a training match of Sidakov and Dave Bave.
Oh, really?
Sidakov's putting on him.
He really bothered me. He came at Yanni way too hard. That was unnecessary.
Who, Ivan?
Yeah.
About what?
He was just being really rude to Yanni. Yanni's like just putting out very normal, humble Yanni statements. He's like, "You're not a top 10 guy. You're very weak. You were better last year." Blah blah blah.
Ha! Who is the guy?
No one knows.
Okay, he's obviously Russian of some sort.
Yeah.
Interesting.
He speaks decent English or can communicate in decent English. He freaking knows what's going on though. He is.
Yeah.
He's a must follow because that dude is as connected as anyone. So, okay. Do you want to continue to talk about the other matches?
I mean, I don't know that all of them were all that exciting. I think the two that would be interesting to me would be Massa did beat Bexod. I think that's a big win for him. I didn't expect him to be able to do it. And then Pantelio and Zane. I don't know which one of those, if you want to talk about either one of those.
Well, Massa continues to legitimize himself in freestyle, right? He won Senior Nationals. He beat Mackay. Amazing performance there. And now beats a world medalist, multi-world medalist, I think. And yeah, he really showed here's some positions where he's really tough, and Bexod kept getting in, and Massa proved to be very difficult to finish on. So more momentum for Massa. He's in a really, really tough weight, although in Olympic weights, they're all pretty freaking tough. So that kind of goes without saying. But yeah, a great performance by Massa.
Yeah, I agree. And then Pantelio, I pictured that being a really difficult match. Pantelio's just so hard to get. He's really hard to get to. And sometimes in folk style wrestling, obviously he struggled with the mat stuff. And you brought up that Zane pinned him twice, which that did in fact happen. Freestyle, he's kind of a different beast. But I also don't see him ever making 65 kg.
Yeah, so that's what I was thinking. I was like, man, this dude at 65 would be a huge problem. And then I remembered this guy went 149 his senior year for a little bit and was like, nope, too big for this. I'm going up. So now we're talking 5.5 more pounds down. That guy doesn't. He's huge, right?
Yes.
I just don't know where are you taking the muscle from. How are you gonna get down to 143 and a half effectively. I feel like he's got to go 74. But man, if he's one of those, if you're Pantaleo, do you just maybe roll the dice, see if you can make the weight, and see how you recover, a la James Green? Because at 65, you're a contender to make the team. If you can function at 65, you've clearly shown you're a contender, right? He's not a contender to make the team at 74 with Burroughs and Dake. It's just from a risk assessment, that is just true.
Yes.
So
that's true.
But
I disagree.
There's probably legitimate health considerations for him to make 143 and a half,
I mean,
right?
Yeah, so this is where it's like he's really muscular, and so you could pull some of the muscle off the frame, and it would be more of a long-term thing. You know, one guy, and obviously this was enhanced by cancer, but Lance Armstrong, they always said in the beginning of his career, he was kind of a little bigger and muscular, and when he had cancer, he lost all that weight. And then when he came back, he never put anything back on his upper half. Obviously, he had assistance with building his lower half with some PEDs. But nevertheless, the idea is that he did pull muscle off his top half, which made him lighter and which made him go further and faster. And so, Pantaleo, if he's like, hey, I'm going to do this wrestling thing for a long time, it might be worth his while to, do some type of training regimen where he gets a little less muscular and therefore he shrinks a little bit and he can make 65.
Yeah, but he better get on that if he wants to do it. He looked really big and strong at 157, which I think was the weight. I think size and his strength was a factor. He's so powerful. He blew right through Zane, who got a little aggressive crowding him. Wasn't able to hold Zane off at the end. But, yeah, it was a good performance by Pantaleo right in that match. Someone like J.O., I think it's going to be a really tough matchup for Alec because he'll be able to get to him. He can match that speed, power, athleticism. But matchups will matter. Like, if, 65 is like one of the – 65, maybe 57 is the most bracket-dependent weight at the Olympics because, like, I don't know. Yanni could take out J.O. and Pantaleo, if he gets by Zane, maybe Pantaleo beats Yanni. Pantaleo would be a really tough matchup for Yanni, right?
Yes.
There's some things he do that make that really difficult. So just depends on how guys hit that they could do it. Now I'm speaking like I'm taking like 8 or 9 assumptions right there to get to that point to get Pantaleo on the team. But how many assumptions would you have had to make to put freaking Frank Molinaro on the team a couple years,
a lot,
4 years ago, a lot more than that. So
yes.
It's wrestling and things happen, and these guys at this level are so good. The margin for error is really, really small.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And so we talked about that one. I thought Gilman Cruz was sort of interesting in that Cruz was winning with 2 minutes to go and got teched. Without it wasn't like a tech lace type of thing. It was like he just hit a wall that was. I've never seen Darian Cruz hit.
I was watching In and Out because I was also coaching at the duels, so I actually watched the first period of that, and it was very competitive, and I did not get to see the second part. I saw your tweet, and I'm like, oh, my God, how did that happen?
It wasn't like, you have the very visible signs of someone that is, like, gassing where their mouth is open, and there's like, Darian didn't look like that tired, but his wrestling was tired. He wasn't able to hold his, position as strong. The shots were coming easy. He was giving up a lot of step outs. He even gave up a gut wrench, which Gilman is not really known for his top work. He just basically hit a wall, and Gilman just put up 10 points sort of casually for the tech. So, I mean, a little that there's a little corona tax there. It's like, I don't know, dude hasn't wrestled in how long? How has he been able to train? That could matter because they've wrestled a lot. And in one way, this was Cruz's best freestyle performance against Gilman. To be winning with 2 minutes to go is notable. But he's also never lost in that way. He lost 9-0 and 17, and then they hit twice at the trials, and he lost 5-1 and 4-1, but he was never close to making anything happen. So I don't know. If I'm Cruz, I'm like, you know what? How about I just get in good shape and won't fall off the map next time? I don't think he would do that again. So a little encouraging for Cruz, even though he got teched. I think there's still some positives he could take away from that. His first takedown was beautiful low single, like picturesque. So he's got some stuff. He looked bigger too, to me.
Huh.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't get to watch Noel McFadden, so I can't really comment on that. And I didn't get to watch Chinzo either.
Yeah. Nothing to write home about. Nolf looked good. A few interesting exchanges there. Chinzo's obviously very elite at 74 and a favorite against Valamont. So that was pretty much it. Want to talk about the 8-man? Anything else on the Nittany Lion event, Benjamin?
Nope. I don't think there is anything else that I want to talk about. I'm pumped for the 8-man. You guys announced your first 4. You kind of hating on my idea. I listen. I think it'd be a lot of fun. I don't really see I don't see what you have to lose by letting me try it. If we try it and everyone loves it, then we do it again. If we try it and everyone doesn't like it, then we never do it again. I mean, it's pretty simple.
Here's the question. What are people going to love? Tell me what people are going to love.
The drama.
The drama of what?
Of people picking who they want to wrestle.
Yes. I think it creates something interesting in the initial, but I don't think that carries over to the bracket, right?
Why not?
When the
it creates controversy, which then if Nate Jackson hops on there and says, you know what, I'm picking Drew Foster first round because he's a bum and I can whoop him. You tell me you don't want to see that match a little bit more?
Yeah. Well, here's the other thing. Where I'm at with it. Just right now, looking at the first 4, which are Sammy Brooks, Gabe Dean, Nate Jackson, Drew Foster. Okay? Those are the first 4 in. I'm thinking, let's just pretend, fake thing, those are the 4. We're doing a 4-man bracket. How can I not put Drew Foster against Gabe Dean? This is the dude that beat his brother for an NCAA final. That's just like perfect drama. I just want to just choose that. How can I not put Sammy Brooks and Nate Jackson against each other again when Nate has jumped out to like 8-0 and 9-0 leads and Sammy has stormed back in dramatic fashion? Yeah. How would I not sign up for that? Why would I leave it to chance to end up with Sammy Brooks versus Drew Foster? I don't know. It's just a less juicy combination of the two. Explain that to me.
Yeah.
Help me come to terms with it, because that's where I'm at right now.
Well, I think just like I said earlier, when you get the athletes and the personalities involved, it makes it better. I mean, think about any fight that you've watched in the last, 5 years, Christian.
Yeah.
I know you don't stay up late enough to really watch them, but the reason people get really excited, and whether they want to actually genuinely admit this or not, and most people, especially wrestling people, will say, I don't like drama. But listen, Flo, you guys see the clicks. You guys don't let me see any of the clicks. You guys see the clicks. People love drama. People love it. They click on articles where people have drama. And if you make people call each other out, you're going to create drama. And, I don't know why you guys see the clicks. I don't know why you're arguing against this. People will say they hate it, but they genuinely, secretly love it.
No, I'm not worried about people hating it. I just think, could we make a more compelling 8-man than those guys? I don't know. Maybe so. So one thing, if we do this, Ben, I want to have a legitimate test run with this before we do it, where you get 8 of us and we all pretend we're one of the guys. I want to see how this actually works.
Oh, that would be so much fun. Could we should air that live, just because that would just be so much fun also.
Okay, yeah, I'm fine with that too. But I want like 8 of us, like I'm Drew Foster and he's Gabe Dean, and like because I don't understand how this exactly works. Because like, okay, if I'm Gabe Dean, I call out Drew Foster. Yeah.
Okay. Kyle Brackett, call Piles. Say, listen, you know what? The rest of the bracket's open. Piles is on the board. I'm gonna whoop Piles first round. I'm calling him out. Come on, call him out. Brackett,
I need an easy warm up match. I need something to get the sweat going. My warm up won't be enough. It's just like when Alabama schedules the Citadel first weekend of the season.
Wow, next I'll go.
In football, not wrestling.
Yeah.
But you're trash, and I'm gonna run through you very quickly, and it'll be a nice warm up to get the blood flowing and get a little sweat going. And I want to be on the top half of the bracket.
Yeah. Okay. So that's my question. So they
you need a rebuttal. You're gonna say all that bad
Listen.
stuff about you and not rebut him?
What he's gonna What am I gonna say? I'm gonna beat Bracky? Yeah, I'd beat Bracky.
This is pretend.
Listen, I would probably listen. We had a couple years ago. We had a fake match. It didn't count for anything, and I learned a lot about Bracky. And he thinks I'm terrible, but little does he know all the training I've been putting in, and he will sorely mistake calling me out in such dramatic fashion.
He is in better shape than me.
I'm in better shape. If I can get this into the 45th or 46th minute, like the criteria haters want, if I can just get this into a 90-minute match, maybe I have a chance. But here's my question. All right, so there's an 8-man bracket, so I accept the challenge. Now where? I go at the bottom, and then what?
Well, you literally have like a bracket up on the wall, right? We could even do it. You could do it electronic, right? I could have it on my TV or something if I was that technologically savvy, and it would just be number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, number 6, number 7, number 8, right? Bracket.
Yeah.
And you would say, obviously Piles, if you're first, there's no one on the bracket. You can say, I want number 5. Okay, you go there. Bracket comes up and he says, oh, I want Piles. He'll be at number 6, so I get Piles first round. But then obviously as the bracket fills in, there will be some strategy like, I might take a tougher first round to be on the easier side. And I mean, I guess an easy example would be like, remember we had Burroughs and Dake on here? And
no,
we didn't even have them. Well, I think it had to be our highest rated show of all time. It had to be. There's no way any show beats that because that was like.
It could have been because Burroughs and Dake, but we also had Simone on there talking about the film, so it could have been one or the other. We don't know exactly why.
We don't know. Okay, well, what about Christian? How much more excited would you have been if you got to see them wrestle like a week later?
Oh, much more.
Much more excited. So we actually get to have, some kind of finality to these guys talking. And I think that, some of the guys are going to want to be calm and humble. But when some dude says, like, listen, man, I'm going to whoop your ass. Like, they're gonna get all fired up and start coming at each other.
Yeah, there's no guarantee they're going to do that. I just don't see Gabe Dean being like, Sammy Brooks, I'm going to beat you. I don't know. Gabe Dean.
I've been in too many rooms with elite wrestlers playing freaking Mafia or something where they're freaking trying to come at each other because someone's lying about Mafia or something.
Yeah, that's not getting live streamed.
Well, I think they just want to be able to help themselves. Kind of like kind of like the this is how I feel. I feel about like the Cologne Gross match. Like you thought, oh, these guys are gonna be tactical, and I thought, yeah, they're gonna try to be tactical, and then after a while, they're just gonna say, F it. I'm going to try to just gut wrench this dude or throw this dude like 27 times.
Yes. Okay. I am not.
You should put a poll up. If we win the poll.
Who's going to say no? No.
Even if they're not just like, I'm going to kick your ass, like, they could be, like, Gabe Dean could be like, I like the matchup here, so I'm going to go here. And that's juicy. It's like, oh, well, Gabe likes that matchup. And then against Sammy Brooks, Sammy's like, well, screw you. I'm going to show you, like, what a terrible decision you made. And
so only 4 guys get any choice whatsoever?
No, not at all. Because once you're the first 4 in the bracket, so obviously they could do 4 separate spots, right? And then the last 4 get to pick who their first round matchups are. But who knows? Like, what if I pick 4th, Christian, and I'm 6-0 against you? I'm going against you first round. But then at least I mean at the least I win my first match.
We need to do a test run of this. I was listening to Jocko the other day, and he was talking about the importance of a walkthrough. This needs a walkthrough more than anything. I think it could be disastrous.
I'm so entertained if which Flow personality is going to pick which athlete.
Yeah.
Speaking of, we talked about Sammy Brooks and Nate Jackson having a crazy match. Sammy Brooks had a crazy match with Drew Foster too. It was like 19-11.
Oh my! I don't remember.
At Senior Nationals.
Really?
Sammy Brooks kind of has lots of crazy matches.
He kind of does. He kind of waits till the second period. He likes to play chicken just like you do, Ben. Just like playing the game. He's like, all right, how close can I let the guy get to the tech? All right, I'll go now. And then he gets guys really tired and he takes him to the edge. He has awesome underhooks and positioning. He's fun. Okay, so I'm not opposed to it. I just think I just want the best. All I want is the best overall product. I want the best overall bracket. That's all any of us want here. And I think we could do a good job of that. But maybe, I'm not opposed. So maybe we'll try a test run.
Pull back the curtain a little too much here. UFC, for example. They'll they sit those guys down before every fight, and they do they don't go to people's houses, right? Every fight week they bring people in early and they ask them questions and stuff. Mm-hmm. And if they don't like your answer, they'll just ask you like the same question. Like early in my career, they would ask the same question like 5 different ways. And obviously I was with Bellator earlier in my career. And then I realized like, okay, if I give them a crap answer, it's gonna keep asking me the same question. So I better figure out how to give like a really good answer so they don't even ask me.
Yeah.
And so after these guys pick, we can kind of dig in because then when they come on the Bader show or when they come into the office, you can say, well, hey man, you decided to pick this guy early. What were you thinking there? Or you wanted to be on this half. What was that all about? Kind of thing. And so then you have those good lead up questions too, because again, wrestling people don't want to admit that they enjoy controversy and they enjoy conflict. But the truth of the matter is they do.
Yes.
And everyone does.
Yes, they do. Speaking
if you think about, go ahead.
No, you go.
Well, if you think about the biggest matches you can make, it's all the ones with conflict right now. It's Dake Burrows, there's conflict there. It's Spencer Lee Gilman, there's conflict there. It's David Taylor, Bo Nickal, because there'd be conflict there, right? The biggest matches you can make in America right now have conflict involved.
Yes, I don't disagree with that at all. Let's make conflict. Let's try it.
Like, why don't you really want to see, like, even though they're the best in the world, Jaden Cox and Kyle Snyder? Well, I don't really. I want to see it because I want to see the wrestling part of it, but they're just two awesome, nice guys.
Yeah.
And they're like, they'd be too nice to each other. So there's something there that's like, I would love to watch them wrestle, but there's no controversy there. So if there's controversy, I would enjoy it a little bit more.
Yes. Yeah. There's no beef. They're way too nice. Although there's no beef with Nickal Taylor, you just know that they're teammates.
No, listen, I can feel it. I can feel the energy.
They're training together.
Well, he did have the whole they didn't know David was not going to be able to wrestle thing, and Bo wasn't able to move down to 86 kilograms in time because of it.
DT's been seeing this coming for well over a year, right?
Oh, I mean, it doesn't surprise David.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I mean, that was, but I mean, everything seems like it's been all gravy since. I mean, they're training together. I don't know. That was just my interpretation. I think it's probably.
We would see some controversy.
Maybe so. Speaking of controversy, because of Ben Askren, he has mobilized Pat Downey's Lizard Warriors and unleashed them upon me. So I was annoyed when Ben brought up, why is Pat Downey? It's like, well, Ben, you know exactly why Pat's not in, so why are you playing? But
okay, in all fairness, Christian, I didn't. In the moment, I think maybe I didn't really totally remember. I wasn't sure, and there's still a little bit of it for me that is fuzzy because I don't
always
really
blame the pain meds, Ben.
I wasn't on pain meds when he got kicked out the first time, and I don't like Pat Downey. I don't think he's a good person.
I do know that.
But I was a little bit fuzzy on all the details when I asked the question. But I want to hear you call him a bum.
I will not call him a bum. I will say it's just I find it really ironic that they think. Well, one, I was annoyed that you said we canceled him because now like cancel culture is such a negative thing that is very pervasive right now. Now, anytime you do something with not someone, that's not canceling someone. It's like I'm not canceling Pat. Just I'm not inviting him over. I'm not having him involved. You want to know why he's not involved? I think one. Let's look at the whole timeline here. There hasn't been a more supportive media entity of Pat Downey than FloWrestling, and that's been true for years. Going back to, we had him down in Austin for what we call a car wash, where we do technique, and we did these interviews, and he did this amazing walk and talk with Bader. It was like an hour-long interview, and you have this guy, and we did this with Pat because it's like, the person that Pat is on social media, at no point in any of my experiences with Pat in person, do those two bear much of a resemblance at all. I feel like Twitter Pat social media Pat does himself no favors ever. In real life, Pat, if you get to know the guy, he's like friendly, he's smart, he's really witty, he's very funny. He's kind of an endearing person. And so it's like, you know what? This is a guy with a story. Let's hear from him. And when we did the first walk and talk with Pat, we got hit up by coaches being like, what prominent coaches, you should not be doing stuff with this guy. You should not get yourself involved with this guy. Don't do it. We said, no, this guy is a guy with a story. People make mistakes. He was mostly accountable to those mistakes in that interview. And then he goes on, he wins the U.S. Open, right? Does a great job there. And then at the World Team Trials in 2019, I'm getting my years mixed up, he wins it, and we do a follow-along with him. We do the Pat Downey advisory thing. It's this really cool piece about this interesting wrestling character, and like, you know, where he talks about he talks about his issues, and he talks about his problems, and he talks about redemption or whatever. It's a very, very cool wrestling story. And again, the fans love it. They think he's an interesting character, and we get a little bit of hate for it from people in the community, right? But whatever. We think it's interesting, and we think he's worth following. And then we have him in Who's Number One, right? We pay him money to wrestle a guy that doesn't even wrestle.
That was dumb. I can't believe you guys did that.
Then, you know, that was the most watched match at Who's Number One.
Stop.
Promise.
Listen, that goes back to my earlier point about controversy creates cash, because I didn't watch that match. But anyone who thought that match was going to be slightly competitive is a moron.
Yes, but they watched. Okay. So then we follow up our support of Pat by having him be in our card July 25th, right? And you get to wrestle the best guy in the world, David Taylor. And we're going to pay you, around 3 times what we paid you to wrestle at Who's Number One to wrestle him. And then 2 weeks out, before the thing, he tweets, I'm withdrawing from the FloWrestling event because they don't have a women's or a Greco match.
I kind of forgot that part. That was the part that I kind of forgot, Christian. My fault.
Pat and Pat fans, we don't have to play. Why would I sign us up for that? We're being asked to make decisions, smart decisions. Why would I sign us up for an 8-man with him when 2 weeks before the last one, he said, I withdraw because there's no women or Greco matches? 3 days after, he basically went to war with half of the women's national team. So you're going to throw us under the bus. You're going to withdraw from the event 2 weeks out, and we lost our co-main event. I'm not canceling you. You canceled yourself 2 weeks before the last event. So no, we're going to learn from that, and you're not in this one. So the Pat Downey mob, I hope you hear this and let me know what decision you would make, right? No one's canceling him. I hope he gets in the Olympic trials. I hope he does as good as he can possibly do. But there's not a bigger supporter in wrestling media or otherwise than FloWrestling for Pat Downey. But we're not signing ourselves up for this one. There you go.
That's fair.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect.
That's why.
Yeah.
And also, I don't get fired Wednesday because Metcalf's coming out. How about that?
You don't.
Yeah. So tell us about it. You actually came through for us. Metcalf's coming out tomorrow.
Yeah.
And have you watched it in its entirety?
I have.
How good?
Bracky watched it most recently. I watched it some time ago. Bracky watched it recently. Bracky, why don't you give your thoughts?
I think it's really good. It's going to be in 3 parts. First part, and they're not short either. First part's 40 minutes.
Wow. 3 parts, huh?
Yeah. Like you were saying when we showed the trailer, there's a million different storylines, you can really go after. And this one, I saw Spade tweet it last night. If they were like titled, this one would be like Family First. It goes pretty in depth about how he got into wrestling and the Davison wrestling with him and Donahoe and Reeder. And then gets pretty in depth his relationship with his brother and everything that happened around that, and kind of his early time at Virginia Tech. But it's really good, and I think you guys won't be disappointed. And then the teaser at the end for episode 2 is incredible. Just like all the storylines in Metcalf's career, they get into all the Virginia Tech stuff. and you have Brant's talking about that, and then you have the other side with Dresser talking about that, and you have Darian Caldwell, and it's just
What did Dresser say?
I haven't seen episode 2 yet. I've only seen episode 1.
Oh, you have to tune in
Did
to find out.
Dresser? How pissed off was he? Because Dresser's a guy that there's not a lot of college coaches will kind of sugarcoat a little bit, and Kevin Dresser he'll say some crazy stuff.
He doesn't mind speaking from the heart. No, I think he was a first year head coach at the time. I think that administration was involved. Probably at the end of Kevin Dresser's career, he may have been able to throw his weight around a little bit at Virginia Tech administratively and say, no, let him go or whatever. At that point, the administration had an axe to grind with Tom Brands, period, for leaving and taking those guys.
Yeah, I mean,
and they were vindictive.
Yeah, that was not very. I mean, I won't say not. I don't know if nice is the right word, but obviously Tom Brands went there. He was there for 2 years, I believe, and then they paid him a bunch of money, and he got some good recruits in, and then he was trying to take them all and leave every 2 years. So it's like essentially you're taking Virginia Tech's investment and you're burning it.
Yes. So remember Kevin Dresser was at that point. He had just coached down the road at Christiansburg. He was a high school coach. We all, and so he didn't have that level of. Now he's the coach of the year and this and that. And he's extremely prominent Division I coach, but it wasn't like that at that point in time. So, but you'll have to hear it from Coach Dresser. But episode 1's great. The early years of Metcalf, his brother. I mean, that's a really obviously very tragic thing, and some of the details around that are pretty interesting.
Episode 1 starts talking about his rivalry with Dustin Slater, and there's a pretty awesome footage from the Medina tournament in Ohio finals, and then their senior national final, which is pretty awesome to hear both those guys talk about that. Because then that would continue to be a big rivalry in college.
Hey, what do you remember, Ben, about the Metcalf Slater rivalry? What do you remember about that? That's kind of around your time.
Well, I remember quite a bit of Brett Metcalf because Brett and Max are the same graduate year, high school and college. So I watched a lot of Brett. I remember how dominant he was. I think it was 6 Fargo titles. That was an awesome rivalry. It was one of those because I think now in more current times, there's more opportunities for those guys to meet up. I mean, if those guys were wrestling in 2020, we probably would have seen them. The UWW cadets, maybe the UWW juniors, who's number one. We would have seen it more frequently, but back in the day, we didn't see those guys wrestle very often. So, you had 2 camps, which, essentially both thought their guy was going to win and their guy was the better guy. So I remember that was probably, in that era, that 5-10 year window. I don't know that there's any other high school matches that were that hyped up, or high school rivalries, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
And obviously they both panned out. They both won Division I NCAA titles. They both would make senior level world teams. So they really both did pan out.
Yeah, it's crazy to see rivalries that, they're transcendent in high school, and then they're both NCAA champions in college, and they both make senior level world teams. It's impressive. And Dustin is one of those guys where he was so household, for such a household name for his era, and then just injuries after injuries after injuries, and apparently concussions, we learned, really derailed what who knows what his career could have been. This is a guy that made a world team in college back when guys weren't really making world teams in college. What's that?
He won NCAA title as a true freshman.
True freshman, right out the gate, beat Esposito, huge upset, right? Just no one saw that.
That was almost unfathomable at the time.
Totally.
Were you a big NCAA fan at that time, or I can't remember when exactly?
Very beginning. That's probably one of the first years I was really into it.
Yeah, that was for me, that was mind blowing because Esposito was a really high level high school guy, and then he came through. He lost to Jesse Jansen in the NCAA finals. Then he wins the NCAA title the following year. Esposito was the real deal. I mean, there was no joke about him. He was really, really good. And then Schlater, the thought that Schlater would come in as a true freshman and beat Zach Esposito. I wish I had something to relate that to in more modern times, but that was like, there's no freaking way that's going to happen. And then it happened.
Yeah. And Schlater was like so dynamic too at that point. And he kind of like, as injuries took hold, he became this like super positional and like, really, his defense was insane. He was really hard to score on. So he kind of like entered that mold. Whereas he had been like super dynamic. I mean, his ducks and slide bys and stuff were, he was a really fun guy to watch. So yeah, Dustin Schlater and that rivalry with Metcalf's one of the best high school rivalries there have been.
Yeah, and that, I guess the other thing to add to that rivalry, and I think both these guys were 1 year younger than me. So, and I think so. Both brothers were the exact same ages. So I believe it was 2003 grads and 2005 grads.
Mm-hmm.
But CP and Brent, the older brothers.
Chase.
I'm sorry, CP and Chase, the older brothers of Brent and Dustin, were both extremely good. I believe they both won Fargo titles. I can't remember if they ever wrestled each other or not. I think they were the same size when they were smaller.
So he talked about this. Brent talks about this in the film. He's like, yeah, we would all go to the same tournaments, and both the Schlaters would beat both the Metcalfs like every time coming up.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
That was probably the stuff that like even I didn't see because Ohio, Michigan, they're right next to each other, and obviously in that era, when we're in middle school, there's no internet results. There's no video. There's nothing. Like you don't know anything of anyone else. I mean, when you travel outside your region, it's just like, oh, maybe you've heard of something or but you know what? You know what funny memory I just had this weekend? And this kind of like would speak to that era of wrestling. When I think I was in 6th grade, and it was the first time where I was maybe starting to get a little bit better. And my dad, one of my youth coach at the time, he had an older son, so I think he was like an 8th grader. And they said, "Oh, there's this tournament. There's this tournament in Indiana. Let's go to this." And who knows? I think it was at Purdue or something, right? So we drove down. He's like 2 hours away, and and there was this kid that lost, and it was like this. The family was throwing a fit, and then someone's like, "Oh, he hasn't lost in like 4 years. This kid's the best." And it was freaking Izzy Martinez.
Really?
Yeah. And so that was my first introduction to Israel Martinez. And then, so then after that, I actually went to his dad had a little club, and I think in 8th grade, maybe I went to a couple camps with his dad, and that whole crew. They had a really bunch of Tannenbaum was in there. A kid that made a couple of UWW Cadet World teams, Ruben Villarreal, which I don't even know what happened to him. But they had a really good squad. And so again, there was no internet. You couldn't watch film. You couldn't see results. It was like you maybe heard about this kid. When he says he hasn't lost in 3 years, it's not like you can go verify that on Track Wrestling or Flow Arena. You don't know.
Yeah, you have no idea.
Right? It's just what they say.
Yeah. So Metcalf tomorrow, you're gonna like it. At long last, it's coming out.
I legitimately don't know. Do we have a time that it's gonna drop? I know we're not live streaming it, but is there a time it's going live on the site?
TDB.
Okay.
Early in the day.
That's good radio.
Because you guys have done that sometimes in the past where you say this.
We did that for years.
Or whatever.
Yeah, we could do it. We're not going. There's various nerdy reasons that no one cares about.
All good.
This is not interesting to people. Other news.
I would like if you play it earlier because you guys usually always do them at night, and I'm actually at practice, so then I'm usually never either have to stay up really late. Otherwise,
that's actually why we do it.
I can't talk about it with you guys the next morning. So if you release it early in the day, I'll be able to watch it in the afternoon. And then
it will be earlier in the day. I can't risk it. We're getting too close to October. I can't play with fire like this anymore. Hey, Sacred Heart adds women's wrestling. How many D1 programs is that now that have said they're going to do it? 2. Iowa?
No.
Is it Arizona State?
No.
Okay.
No, it is no, but then there's the college Presbyterian. They're D1 now.
Okay. Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
I thought
they'd be 3. But Lockhaven said they were gonna have women's wrestling.
I thought Arizona State they have they have a
girl on the team. They do not have a women's team.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't think Arizona State officially committed to it. I know a lot of people. There's been a lot of talk of it, but I don't think.
I really thought Iowa said they were gonna do it. Yeah,
I have not seen an official announcement from Iowa, but yeah, I've heard them talk about it.
Well, good stuff for Sacred Heart. I'm glad they're doing that. Hopefully more fall online, and we get 2 dueling NCAA wrestling seasons men's and women's, would be very, very good for the sport.
Yeah.
I know a lot of the sports leadership thinks this is paramount and essential for the health and growth of wrestling, especially at the NCAA level. Let's hope the momentum continues.
Is Sacred Heart in Connecticut, Massachusetts?
It's in Connecticut. It's so funny you said that. So I did not remember where it was. And then me, Bracky, Bray, and who's the other person? JD. We're like, okay, we're gonna have a contest to see who can guess which state Sacred Heart was in. And we were split, Connecticut and Massachusetts, but it was Connecticut. So it's funny that you asked that question and even mentioned those states.
Well,
how about
really close together? That whole Northeast region, Christian. They'll jam it all the states in one.
A lot of people, a lot of
New England.
A lot of New England, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Gable Steveson is a different looking person. He tweeted like a side-by-side. Tyler's got that pulled up. This guy, he got
Are you sure it's not just the lighting?
Look at his shoulders.
I'm joking.
Well, okay, I'm like, what? He's clearly like, he's simultaneously got bigger and leaner, which is sort of horrifying because he was really good as a true freshman.
I mean, he was a kid as a true freshman.
I know. He was like 18.
That's a kid versus a man.
Yeah. So now, but you know what? He's like, he it's not just puberty and maturation. It's like mental maturation is how I view it. He got really serious. I mean, when you were as good as Gable Steveson was as a freshman and before, and you were that good, it's hard to say. I really need to dig deep and get serious about strength and conditioning, you know? And I think that was something he had allowed himself to lapse because there's literally no one that could beat him. And now didn't get what he wanted at NCAAs, and he didn't make the senior world team. And he clearly got really serious about weight training and getting in good shape. And, man, I think the results, he said he put on 20 pounds of muscle, and it's a scary thought how good this kid could be.
Minnesota's got a great strength and conditioning program. I remember they did something like this, and I know he never had a great physique, but you could tell if you saw the side by sides with my buddy Cole Conrad. And I think he went in at 280, and he said that they, in the beginning they cut him down to like 250, and they made him lose a whole bunch of weight, and then then he started putting it back on as he got older and really heavy lifting, and
he got huge, right? Like he was cutting to make heavyweight at different points, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's another interesting, like what could have been with his career in both freestyle wrestling. Although I think he dipped his toe
in fighting.
In fighting, he was undefeated.
Yeah, and he's a Bellator champion. Then he just retired and went to work, which is fine. I always tell people fighting's a terrible career, and I know I saw him. Him and Max were both inducted to the Wisconsin Wrestling Coaches Hall of Fame last year, so I got to talk to him a little bit. But in freestyle, I always thought it was really interesting because right out of college, we were the same graduating year. He made the open finals against Tommy Rowlands. Mm-hmm. And then, it was a really competitive match. And obviously, so Mako was the third guy there. And then for whatever reason, in 2008, he felt like he had the better opportunity to make the Olympic team in Greco. So he transitioned over to Greco in 2008. And then he did not make the team. And Mako ended up making the team. And Mako was a guy, I think Cole beat him the last 3 matches of their college careers, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, so I don't remember him going Greco. That's interesting.
Yeah, he went Greco in 2008, and he didn't make the team. But I always thought, like, man, right out of college. I mean, I took 5th and 6th in the Open and Trials in 2007, and he was a lot closer to me. He made the finals against Tommy. And so, I always thought I didn't coach him or anything, right? We were buddies, and I never really dug into why did you make that decision to switch to Greco that year.
Yeah, interesting decision by him to do that. Okay. Where to next? You want to get to some questions?
I see one interesting thing in the chat. Kozak, he says that Gable tweeted that this might be his last year NCAAs, and then he deleted the tweet.
What?
That's what he said. Which actually then would lead me to my next point, and I don't remember how we forgot to talk about this, Christian. Kerkvliet is Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah,
I mean, he's ridiculous.
he's ridiculous. Yeah, and that's the other thing. I got like dragged for various reasons for my tweet saying that Gable and Kirkfleet were the future at 125. Then Tommy Rollins jumped in. Ben, you saw this, blowing me up because I was either everyone thinks it's like so blatantly obvious that Kirkfleet's at. Well, I didn't think it was that obvious to everyone. And then the other half of the people were saying I was totally disrespecting Mason Paris and Nick Wisdowski. So I don't know what that was, but my feelings are that Gable and Kirkfleet are the two best freestyle prospects in America.
How old is Wisdowski's only 27, man.
He's
got
old.
the time left. I mean, he ain't old. So I mean, I could easily see him going until 2024. You know, I don't want to say they forgot about it's Kirkfleet, right? Saying it correctly?
I say Kirkfleet. I hope that's right.
Kirkfleet. Okay. So, you know, people they forgot about him, but he hasn't really competed all that much. You know, no NCAA wrestling. You know, he did do the Open in December, but this is, you know, it's one of those things where it's kind of a lot of times out of sight, out of mind. We've seen Mason Paris win a junior world title. We've seen Mason Paris get so much better. And, you know, Flo ranked Kirkfleet like 14th or something. So they obviously don't think he's very good. And so, you know, I think maybe
He's doing the chail
Well, you
thing
said
now.
Oh my gosh, here we go again.
when you see him, hey, he's the future. But yeah, I think he's bad. I don't want to write Mason Paris off because he's improved so much. So I won't write him off. Nick Wisdowski is 27, so obviously not writing him off. You know, he will age earlier than these other guys, though. Obviously, I will just say America's in a very good place for heavyweight. I think, you know, any of those top four right there that we talked about, I think they have a very good chance at earning world medals if they can make the team.
Yeah, I'm worried. You know, how long is Gable going to stick in wrestling? Right? He's like, I don't know, he seems like a guy with a lot of other aspirations: MMA, WWE. I don't know.
I think he likes to flirt around.
Yeah, I hope he's just doing that. It would seem like he should just. I don't know, to me, and I'm selfish here, but it seemed like his brightest future is going to be in freestyle wrestling. He could be a legend in freestyle wrestling, in my opinion. I've been high on Gable for a really long time. I've been wrong on occasion about it, but I still maintain that there's not many heavyweights that can wrestle like him in the world, right? And now that he's bigger, I think he'd be very formidable.
He looked so good against Trent last week. That was ridiculous. How can someone put together those two? I know they wrestled when they were in high school. Can someone put them together again, please?
What do you mean? They're
Kirkfleet and Stevenson.
Oh yeah.
Let's get them fight each other.
Yeah, but I didn't even watch him wrestle personally.
Well, that's what I mean. Yes,
Yeah,
that's what I mean.
Yeah, I'd love to see it. It was a close match. You know, it was like a 1.32 match.
Yes, I'm searching for the U.S. Open right now. How did Hamida do at the U.S. Open? Because I want to see how his results at the U.S. Open compare.
As our man John Kozak
did.
literally just put in the Facebook chat, Hamida did lose to Garrett Ryan and Neville's at Senior Nationals, so not sure how much that one means.
Nick Neville's, right? Yes.
That's not so great.
Yeah, I don't know how much it means. He's a good folk styler. He had some. I feel like he had like a good battle with Don Bradley. Maybe could be misremembering.
Hamida did.
Yeah, I may be making that up.
All right,
but
I'm on the bracket right now.
At the very least, I think Dom and him almost got in a fight, sort of got in each other's faces.
Oh, that was at yeah, that was in Raleigh.
Yes.
They wrestled in the quarters and for third.
Yeah, and one of those, I think it got a little chippy.
That was when they almost killed Spay. You remember this?
Yes, when he got pancaked in this table. Yeah, that was wild.
So the quarterfinal was Pino Bradley.
Yikes.
Yeah, Hamida only had one win at the U.S. Open, so that's not all that telling, I guess, or not all that great. Kirkfleet he 10-0'd Garrett Ryan, and then he beat Nick Neville's for third place.
He was beating Tony Nelson late.
Yes.
as I recall. It was 5-5 for.
5-5 for Bradley for third over Hamida. So that one was
Okay, so
One that
they
got
did.
us.
Have
What term are you talking about right now?
World Team Trials
20
Challenge Tournament
2018. 2018.
2019 in Raleigh.
2019. Sorry. Yes. Yeah. So Nelson beat Kirkwood. He got the last. He got the takedown with 48 seconds left. Kirkwood scored 1 point after that, so it was 3-1. Then Kirkwood made it 3-2 at the end.
Yes. Okie doke.
Yeah.
Questions?
Man, that's yeah, it's a good bracket.
He's good. How many of our
Yeah, we do
86
some questions.
guys could bring home a medal at the Olympics? Ben.
I hate this question because the bracket's not really seeded and it's unbalanced, so it depends on where they end up in the bracket. I mean,
You know what it means.
Jaime Espinal won a damn silver medal in 2012.
Oh my gosh! So all of our guys.
I mean, yeah, if you put them on that side, there's a good chance that a bunch of them win a medal.
Yeah. Okay.
So
there we go.
yeah,
I would say.
Well,
I mean,
what do you say?
I would say 3. I think. No, 4. David, Zahid, Bo, Ringer. I think all could medal at the Olympics.
Sure. Yeah.
David,
Agreed.
obviously, a higher probability, but really high on those other guys. Maybe there's others in the mix, but I'm not ready to go there with them. Will tickets be sold for the 8-man bracket? No, they will not. No people allowed that aren't working or wrestling or coaching or something, unfortunately. The day will return when we will be able to have matches with people and stuff, but that day is not October 31st. So sorry about that.
Yeah, it's kind of it was kind of nice though last time. Man, it was so easy. You set up, you just run the event. You have to worry about the fans or any of the other externalities.
Yeah.
And simple.
It was fun. It was very fun.
Mm-hmm.
Matt Awareness Podcast, Ben vs. Chael, both at the peak of their careers at a weight in the middle, MMA. Who's winning?
Chael could have never made a weight in the middle because Chael was cutting so hard to make 185. I think he would admit that he would. And I would have. I mean, Chael's significantly larger than me, so I would have a hard time with Chael.
All right. Here's one. If the top jiu-jitsu guy in the world came to wrestling with no wrestling experience and 1 month of wrestling training, what level could he reasonably be successful at? They would not be successful at all.
Get worked.
They would get destroyed.
That's what
they would have a hard time in an elite high school wrestling room, for sure.
Well, I was trying to think if there's any of them that, I mean, obviously, I guess you say with no wrestling experience, some of them, the intelligent ones, at least they don't do a lot of wrestling, but they at least do a little bit of wrestling. They like a Gordon Ryan, for example.
Yes. Some of them, I mean, some of them straight up wrestle. Like this guy Cyborg, I mean, he's got some really, for jiu-jitsu, he's got some solid wrestling technique. But
yeah, I remember in 2009 when I went to Abu Dhabi. Well, it wasn't. Sorry, Abu Dhabi was not in Abu Dhabi. It was in Barcelona. So the Abu Dhabi competition.
Yeah.
It was the super match was Drysdale versus Jacare, I think. I'm pretty sure it was. And like I was so pumped. I had just started jiu-jitsu. I've been doing it for about a year. I'm so excited to watch these guys jiu-jitsu it out. And these dudes do some crappy wrestling for about 20 minutes. And it's like, dude, if I wanted to watch crappy wrestling, I could have went to any high school tournament. You know, it's like I didn't want to see that. I want to see them do jiu-jitsu because they're the best in the world at it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean,
weird.
the levels, level's not high. To your point,
it's not high. It would take a long time. It would take a lot longer to get a jiu-jitsu guy elite at wrestling than it would take a wrestler to get elite at jiu-jitsu. I'll say that.
Yes.
Okay.
It's happened with non-elite wrestlers getting really good at jiu-jitsu relatively quickly.
Yeah, Nicky Rod.
That'd be an example.
Chief example. Are wrestlers eligible to compete in senior nationals? Hard to qualify for Olympic red shirt if you can't compete until November 1st. Yes, you're right, Brian Jacobs. I feel like they're going to find a way to write it so that NCAA guys can go. Because there is that rule about, and I don't know if we talked about it last a few FRLs ago or not.
Talked about it last week.
Okay. So, yeah, that rule, I think they're going to find a way to get them in the tournament. I think D1 guys are going to be able to go.
Oh, they better start hurrying.
Yeah,
his time is running out.
Yeah, it's in, what, 4 weeks? 4 weeks or so? That's kind of soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, pick it up. Less than 4 weeks. Probably it's 3
It's
weeks.
like 3, yeah.
Okay. These bracket tournaments end up being a long-term thing. Is the next weight you're looking at 155 or something different? I don't know what the next weight will be. I think it'll be lighter. We had thrown around 150. Maybe we do 140. We kind of preliminarily reach out and just gauge interest and see, hey, could we get some guys here like we did with 195? Felt reasonably confident we get 8 really good guys at minimum, and that's going to be the case. We're hopefully going to announce some more soon. So I think probably 150 would be the next one. Where would you put it, Ben?
I like the 135, 140 bracket, especially if you can throw in a few of those, we'll say domestic foreigners, right? Say Stevan Michik or, oh my gosh, what was the guy that just wrestled last week?
I don't know.
Russian guy.
Oh, Ampar.
Rustam.
Ampar, throw him in there. Maybe Kinshvili. I don't know if he could make 135, 140. I'm not sure how low exactly he could go. Especially if we throw one of those guys in there. And then obviously your point is dependent on, hey, if I could get Spencer Lee. If I could get Spencer Lee and Gilman and they could go first round, dude, I'm so in for that.
Yeah, I think we all are. I think we're all in for that. Okay. I think that does it. I think we did the show. Other thing, we signed Macy Kilty. She's going to be wrestling on the October 31st card. We are actively and aggressively looking for an opponent for Macy, but she's very good. So some people may have reservations about wrestling someone for her ability, but we're going to find her a match, and we're excited about that, and we're looking to add another match as well. So as we get these details, we will let you know them and get you excited, because October 31st will be here before you know it. Ben, Kyle, anything before we depart?
I'm excited for Metcalf. I mean, that's my era type stuff, so I'm excited for it.
Good. I think, tomorrow. I think tomorrow morning-ish, maybe right after FRL, we lead straight into Metcalf. How's that sound?
Here we go.
I think it sounds good.
I like it.
I'm gonna do it. 10 o'clock. 10 Central, 11 Eastern. Metcalf tomorrow. There it is.
Wow, really?
Yeah, let's do it.
Oh boy.
Here we go.
I hope they're within the time schedule.
Yep, me too. Might have to change it. Thanks so much, guys. Hope you had a great weekend. Thanks for tuning back in. You guys are the best. We'll be back tomorrow, Wednesday. It's gonna be fun. I don't know what we're gonna talk about, but we're gonna do the show for sure. We're gonna have a show. I know that much. Thanks to Ben. Thanks, Kyle. Thank you especially for listening. See you tomorrow. Happy Tuesday.
See ya.